All right.
Hello, everyone. We are live. Talk number 2, day 2, HiFi Summit. Here we go. Polk Audio. What is up? We've got Bronson Gannon and we've got Phil Jones from Sound United. How's everybody doing today?
How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for having us on.
Are we allowed to put this on since you're here, Phil?
Ooh,
You know what I mean? Are we allowed to put
a little bit of everything? We could put,
yeah.
But because we are going to talk we're going to talk about Polk, but also because we're talking about surround sound formats, you need something to do that. So the things we're talking about also applies to Denon, the new Denon products we launched.
Oh, I'm gonna throw it on there just because.
Yeah. And of course, there's Marantz pieces as well that will support some of these immersive technologies we're talking about, like dts-x and IMAX Enhanced and dts-x Pro and all the other stuff. So yeah, you might as well put the other logo up there too.
All right.
I know Bronson's back and there's no Polk logo. Where's the Polk logo? Put the Polk
logo. Where is that thing? Come on, guys.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
He says you gotta represent.
Okay, I'll be back. I'm out of here. Hey, so it's good to have you guys. And then Bronson Gannon, Handsome McGee. Looking good. I told him to put on his coat, so I put on my coat because you see his thumbnail on there. He's all suited up. He's like,
yeah, he looked dope.
Yeah. He's like this.
I don't know why you guys looking all fierce. You better headshot. All formal and stuff.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, very good. So let's see here. What's going on?
Got some guys excited in the chat over here.
We got Michael in today. What are we going to be talking about?
What do you want to talk about, Bronson?
I think we should be talking about proper speaker placement among the new audio formats that we have out there: DTS, dts-x, Atmos, and IMAX Enhanced.
There we go.
Because we get asked a lot about that when we go to different events. Because while a lot of times many people are hi-fi 2-channel people, there is a lot of immersive music and like concert footage, multi-channel music and things like that. And they want to make sure that they get the best performance for both music and movies, whether they're playing back in 2-channel or whether they're playing back in multi-channel. So we figured it'd be a good topic to talk about because most people are using AVRs or receivers these days for 2 jobs, music and video playback.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
So what would you like? So what would you want to start?
Is it Bronson starting? Okay.
I can start it off. I guess let's just kick it off to basics, guys. Like, who is DTS and what do they do? What's their whole company story, just so we can all get familiar really quickly.
Anybody? Who's the oldest guy on this video right now? It's probably me.
Oh, wow. Why do you want to go there?
It is.
Well, Chana.
The youngest is Bronson.
Bronson's only like 12, but he looks like
with that beard.
Yeah. Been full grown with a beard since I was 7. Don't worry.
Because I remember DTS when it first came out back in the days when you had film and they used to put the audio on the side of the film where the little clips are, the little slots that actually move the film. And after you play it for a little bit of time, the audio would degrade. So DTS came up with a way of the only thing that was on the film was basically a sync or like an optical time code, and then they would give them a disc, almost like of a separate digital disc of the content. So that way, if you watch the movie the first time or the 50th time, the quality would be higher and it would be consistent. So that's where it first came from. And then they went into about late 90s. I remember they introduced DTS for the home. And I remember being in a retail store doing demos of the Eagles, Hell Freezes Over, Hotel California, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Lucky Man, and multi-channel DTS surround. And one of the big things was less compression. So there were signals that were out there for surround sound, but they were compressed or they were matrixed. So this was one of the first higher quality, discrete multi-channel things you can use for music and movies, and that's where they got started, and they just continue to move up. And like it says, when it comes to us, we've always been at the forefront of this stuff, right? So we were always the first companies that introduced DTS, Dolby Atmos, virtual DTS, Auro 3D, IMAX Enhanced, and now we're actually introducing a new technology called dts-x Pro, which is a upgraded version of dts-x, and I'm sure people have questions about that. About, do I have to buy new content? How many versions of Star Wars am I going to have to buy? You know, because every time it seems like there's new surround sound format or a new label on a receiver, I got to go out and buy another version. And
I know I have to buy the White Album again. Apparently, there's like a 5.1 version of it. You know, that the guy from AIX Records who couldn't make it today, and so we had him on last Monday, or last Monday, and apparently there's an amazing version of that in 5.1. So yes, why do I need to buy the White Album again, Phil?
You don't. Yeah, one of the benefits of so the first thing we need to talk about is dts-x Pro is a enhanced version of dts-x, which has already been on the market, but normally receivers were limited to 11.1 channels. That could have been processing, licensings, whatever. Now, for dts-x Pro, you can support dts-x will support up to 30.2 channels of amplification. Now, the reason why you don't have to buy new content is because this is not dts-x is not really based on a channel-based mix. It's an object-based mix. So all you have is more speakers your renderer could use to place the object in space, because the object is assigned metadata, which we could talk about later. So you don't have to buy new content. So all that dts-x stuff you have already is now, if you have 30 channels, you could actually do that. And also your older DTS material will be better as well. So, so yeah, I know. And yeah, because if you think about how many channels you could actually have there, just to put it in perspective here, if I bring up this slide right here, this actually will show you the different maximum mixes.
That's Chana's room in a year.
Oh yeah,
it's my living room. Yeah,
it's like Oprah. You get a speaker. You get a speaker. You get a speaker. Right?
So, hook it up, man.
Oprah.
Good night.
So if you look at it, you know, Dolby Atmos has always been able to support these higher channel counts, 24.1.10, and DTS now dts-x Pro can support 30.2 or 30 channels. Now people say, why does one company do it with the 3 numbers and the other company does it with only a single number? If you look at this, Dolby separates horizontal speakers from the vertical heights, the stuff above you, right? But it's all surround channels. Okay, dts-x believes that every single channel is of the same quality. They're all surround channels, or they're all surround positions. So there is no difference between a height, you know, and a floor speaker. So it's just 30 surround channels.
Another speaker for it.
They do that with Oro 3D as well, right? It's just a full number count.
Exactly. So if you look at it, if you converted Dolby Atmos, it would be 34.1. If I convert DTS, it would be 17.2.13.
Man.
Wow. Okay. 13 height channels.
Change.
Now people ask about this and they go, which one is better? Because Dolby Atmos has more channels, right? More, it's 34 versus 30. But you also have to remember that there's some exclusive channels on dts-x Pro that are not on Dolby Atmos. Center height, okay? Front center height, rear center height, and top surround are not spec'd in Dolby Atmos. So while Dolby Atmos has more overall channels, the other one, the DTS has some channels that Dolby Atmos does not.
Oh gosh,
that's crazy, man.
All right, so I know, so it's pretty slick. So people go, no, most people aren't going to put 30 speakers in a room. Let's be honest, but there are maniacs.
Oh, is that a challenge? Is that a challenge?
Like, who's up for it?
I can see Chana saying, you know what, calling up Bronson and say, you know what, I want to be the first guy to try this.
I got you. I'll come to your house and help you install all of them.
I mean, Denon's a platinum sponsor. Let's make it happen.
Right. Now, when we talk about this, you're not gonna. There are some super high-end processors from some really good companies like Trinoff that can support these mega channels, but they cost the price of a small BMW. So so Denon has just announced a new receivers, starting with the 4700. I mean the 6700, which retails for about $2,500, and also we're going to upgrade the 8805 Denon and the 8805 Marantz Pre-Pro, like the one I have behind me. as well as the 8500 to this. So now you can get this at prices starting at $2,500.
Wow.
So it's achievable.
Yeah, you would just not all the speakers. The processing will happen.
Exactly. But the nice thing is, as your content grows, as this grows, you don't have to buy content. So you buy a 13 channel piece, and in 10 years you buy some other crazy piece, and then one day Chana or Joe fly in with their flying car to buy a hologram TV and 30 channels. It's still the same disc, right? Which is actually a good thing for us. And
Mohammed, we just saw your question pop up. We were absolutely going to answer that question a little bit later on in this presentation.
This one here?
Yep, we're going to get into that probably in like the next 20 minutes. We got some good answers for you on that one. But Phil,
exactly.
dts-x Pro content. Where can you get most of this content nowadays?
Well, currently a lot of content, of course, is on disc. You know, we had DTS on one of our webinars like a week or so ago, and they say there's new news coming for other ways that they're going to be distributing dts-x material. So right now it's a lot of disc based because they're concerned with quality. For you HiFi, for you AV guys out there, if you have a lot of times there's going to be services built into your TV that will do immersive audio. If you do use ARC, audio return channel, HDMI to plug your TV into your receiver, regular ARC, the old school ARC audio return channel will pass Dolby Atmos compressed, down ARC. If you want dts-x or uncompressed Dolby Atmos, you need eARC because of the bandwidth requirements. DTS said they were not happy with the amount of compression required to send their object-based format down the older eARC format, so they wanted eARC was the minimum requirement. A lot of TVs from the last few years have it, for the last year or so have it, and we've had receivers for the last 3 years that have it. So that's
very encouraging, Phil. You know what's discouraging is that LG on their 2020 TVs took out dts-x or DTS decoding. So if you have an LG, you're capped at 2019. So like the C9 OLED, E9 OLED, G9. When you get to the 10s, they don't have that anymore, which is disappointing. Better for gaming, I guess, but they took that out. I think it was a cost saving measure to keep the prices similar, but very
right now, what you'll probably see a lot of DTS utilized for is, like, say for example, you have a Sony TV. They have a service called Privilege, and it's a way that you can stream IMAX enhanced material. And they announced that they're going to be releasing 100 different older and newer movies within the next year or so. So you'll be able to use, because remember, IMAX enhanced, the basis of that is dts-x Pro. So all that content, if you have an eARC TV, will be passed.
Right, and of course, this does not count for optical. You cannot send that through optical, right?
Exactly.
It just popped up in the chat here. So.
Yeah, but the main thing, a lot of times, and besides, not only DTS, we also got to talk about the other object-based one, because this is a full conversation about your stuff, and that's Dolby Atmos. And I'm sure you're aware that Dolby Atmos, if you have an Apple TV or a new Fire Cube, or a Sony TV with the app built in, or I believe an NVIDIA Shield, you can stream Dolby Atmos from Tidal. You basically plug that box into either your TV and feed back to the receiver via ARC, or you plug the box directly into your receiver, and there's a pretty wide selection of Dolby Atmos mixed content available on Tidal now.
Yeah. I made a video about it. I checked out a lot of them. I noticed the older stuff wasn't as crazy, but some of the newer stuff, there's an album called Atmos for Androids. Check that out. That one is awesome. Yeah. Atmos for Android.
That one's wild.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's fantastic. There's like percussion happening here, up there, down here. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. I can't wait to check that out.
Now, before we talk, so somebody brought up speakers, and like I said, any good speaker will do the job. But of course, one thing that Bronson wanted to mention, Bronson, what do you want to talk about when we talk about speakers that's kind of cool about some of the models that we make?
Our new line that we just launched within Polk and Definitive Technology. The Polk line is Legend Series, which our boy Mike on here, he actually bought the first pair of Legend speakers, the L800s from the New York Audio Show. So, sir, my hat goes off to you. Thank you for being a loyal member of the Polk community. Now, the Legend series is IMAX Enhanced certified. So, Muhammad, I know you asked that question earlier. We actually have 2 speakers within the Sound United portfolio. First one's Polk Legend. You have the L800, L600, which are both tower speakers. The 400, which is the large center channel. And then you have the Atmos modules as well, which are the L900s. Those are all IMAX Enhanced certified, which is amazing. And we use those as our reference theater during CES this last year. Funny story, we blew a circuit in the Venetian during our test show. We will talk about that another time. The other line of speakers that I wanted to bring up to you guys is the Definitive Technology Demand series. We have the Demand D15 and D17 towers that are both IMAX Enhanced certified as well too. So if you compare those speakers with any of our IMAX Enhanced certified AVRs, you have a absolutely amazing home theater setup.
Yeah. So if you think about it, we're not saying that that's the only speaker that's going to sound good in IMAX Enhanced or anything else. We're just saying a lot of times people will say there's people out there just looking for simple peace of mind. I'm thinking about buying something. I know I want to use it for this. I know I've heard that IMAX Enhanced, because of the speaker systems that they use in IMAX theaters, are the mix is a lot more aggressive. And I just want to make sure that if I buy something, it can handle the abuse that that IMAX content could actually wage upon a pair of speakers. You know that you can buy these because you know that they're using and that they're going to work. And if you think about it, these are the speakers that IMAX is using for their own demonstrations when you walk into shows like CEDIA, CES, and even their own demonstrations. So they just want to say, hey, these are good. We know because we use them, kind of thing.
Yeah. At CES, IMAX set up, what was it, a 714 setup in their IMAX Enhanced Lounge, and it was all Polk Legend speakers. Yeah. So to Phil's point, these aren't the only ones that can do it, but these are the ones that they are testing with and testing against, and they have the most confidence within these speakers.
Yeah, yeah, because if you look at IMAX stuff, the speakers are gigantic. Okay,
Godzilla speaker.
Yeah, and also the layout is different, so the sound mix has to be different than what you normally do. They use a 12-channel system. So if you look at it, there's 7. It's a 7.0.5. There is no LFE in an IMAX theater. Every single speaker has its own subwoofer.
I think, Michael, you could probably throw that in your system.
I would totally throw that in my system.
Exactly.
Who makes those Boston Acoustics?
I know they're crazy. I know. Where's the Polk logo on those? I'm just joking. But yeah, the speakers are gigantic. So you have to be able to take that mix and effectively give you the impression of that theater. Now, are we saying that space is better than Dolby Atmos or dts-x? No, we're not. But if you go to a movie theater right now, and you go see the Avengers, it was available in Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision in one theater, widescreen with dts-x in another theater, and IMAX in another theater. All 3 theaters sounded different, and the picture was different. Which one? It's the one that you like and the one you bought the ticket for. So why not have that option? So let's.
Phil, do you want to get into the unique center channel?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that real quick. Now
it's getting a little confusing, and I still have questions on it myself. Okay. Could you give us the breakdown?
Okay, so let's go back and talk about the layout. If you go to an IMAX theater, or actually even dts-x Pro, if you go to there's a new speaker. It's called a center height speaker. So normally when we talk about 7.1 or 0.6, we talk about 2 height speakers in the front, a pair of heights or something in the middle, and a pair of heights in the back. That is how we normally think of 7.1.6. Or if you have a 13-channel amplifier, you could do 9.1.4, which is 9 speakers along the horizon and 4 in the ceiling. Well, IMAX Enhanced dts-x Pro and Auro 3D use a different have another 7.1.6 option, and that is surround heights in the front, surround heights in the back, a center front height, and a top surround. they call it the voice of God. So that's what I like how Auro 3D calls it. So if I'm running basically native IMAX enhanced material, that center height was actually in the mix at the theater, and now they can send that to that particular speaker. If you don't have that speaker, it is used as an object. It's an object in the dts-x Pro mix, and then the system will look at what speakers you have in the immediate direction, immediate area, and use basically imaging to try to image that object, that sound in that position. But it's always better if you physically have a speaker there. If you have the Neural X, which is the DTS up mixer on, or you're using Auro 3D, you can also have a top surround. So as things fly over you, instead of the top middles trying to image something directly above you, it's a speaker directly above you. Right. So you have these different configurations.
And this is the same as the 13.1 Auro 3D, correct?
Exactly. So if I bring up this one, so say for example, we have a couple of receivers. The new one we just announced was the 6700. It has 13 channels of processing and 11 channels of amplification. I'll repeat that: 13 channels of processing and 11 channels of amplification. So you need to buy another amplifier. Most people buy that amplifier to drive their mains. And then I have a couple of selections. I can do the traditional 7.2.6 with the front heights, the rear heights, and the top middles, or middle heights, or I can do a Auro 3D / dts-x Pro / IMAX enhanced configuration using the center height and the top surround. So you have these different options. If you buy a 8500, it has 13 channels of processing, 13 channels of amplification, and 15 speaker terminals. So you can literally wire the Dolby Atmos configuration, hardwire the Auro 3D / dts-x Pro / IMAX enhanced configuration, and go into the amp assign menu and switch from one configuration to the other. So it's pretty slick.
Now, is there a way to actually just have the profile and just be like switch at the touch of like maybe quick select? Quick select, maybe?
Well, quick select does not do amp assign. However, the new receivers have what's called that we just introduced, including the 6700, have what's called dual speaker preset. So I can go in, and that's one thing that I suggest everybody do if you buy like a new 27, 47, 6700, 3700 receiver, is you can go in and do you could set 2 configurations, and I can do one configuration with that on. Nice. And then one configuration with it off. And then what I was saying is use maybe an AB switch on the amplifier to switch the channels from the middles to the rear surrounds and the rear surround and the top height. So you could do that with on the newer models. A big thing about that too is that dual speaker preset. When we're talking about setting up, people complain that a lot of times too much of the image collapses to the center channel when you're running 2-channel music in a surround sound format, right? People have Gene runs around with a banner. Oh, center spread, right? About it. He is passionate about that. Yeah. So what you can do with this dual speaker preset is I can go in and I can pick my favorite surround sound up mixer. Neural X, Auro 3D, DTS, whatever the Dolby surround one is, and I can go in and I can make adjustments. I can turn the center off in that particular mix, so it doesn't even go there. Adjust all the levels, the subwoofer, run a full Odyssey calibration, and all of that stuff.
Save that
and save it, and then I can do a movie one. So when I switch back and forth with that, it's a discrete code you can put in your control system. Those little 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons on the remote, you can save it there under quick select, or and you can now go movie mode, music mode, and you can have optimized both things. So that's kind of a cool thing you can do.
You know, so go ahead. I heard that the center spread was removed to have the height virtualization. Is that why it was removed?
When the original thing came out, they said basically you could have this. You can have, your virtual, or you could have the center spread. Because if you look in the menu, where the icon is for center spread has now says Virtual X. So they were like, pick between the two. And we looked at it and said, the ability to take all of that Atmos content that's available on your Apple TV and on your Netflix and on your Amazon and be able to utilize that additional data, it's probably going to be utilized a lot. So we made that decision. Now that was a decision we had to make at that time, and that was the rules. Now could maybe in the future the rules may change, and then we'd have to look at what's the engineering required to put both.
Would do both.
Yeah.
On it, but at the same time with dual speaker preset, do you really need it anymore?
Solved.
Hey Phil, I got a quick question for you. It might be a little bit off topic, but I know you could handle it. So this is from the lobby discussion at the HiFi Summit. Specifically, I got to represent these folks. So Derek asked, for a 5.2.4 setup, where should the heights be placed? Front wall and behind, side walls, or all on the ceiling at 45 degrees from the listening position? Also, should they all be angled or in or face straight out?
Excellent question. So let's
There's 7 questions.
That's our next topic. Okay.
So normally, if you look at both DTS and Atmos, they do position the the height speakers are not positioned normally directly above your mains. So you always want, because remember you're trying to get kind of this globe or sphere of sound. So what happens is there's now this is important too. People go, well, what can I use both formats and both things? If you look at this drawing, the reason why they look different is because IMAX likes and DTS believes they like to picture it as every speaker being equidistant with the exception of the heights, right? So it's like a sphere. And but so the couch is directly in the middle. If you look at the Dolby Atmos one, the couch is pulled back towards the rears, right? But you notice that on the Atmos there is a variety of angles, right? Guess what happens when I push that couch forward to the middle of the room? Guess what the number would be? Very identical, pretty much to the dts-x one. Does that make sense? Because the range is between 22 and 30. When I push that couch forward, I end up at 30 and 30 and 30, just like the other one. So the angles of approach are going to be the same. When I push the couch forward, I got to push those. If you look at where they have the middle, the surround speakers placed, if I push the couch forward, guess where those surround sound speakers are going to go? They're going to go forward too. So if I push that couch to the middle, those positions will look very similar. The main difference is the angle of approach. DTS is Atmos, I think, is more of they just say kind of fire them down, and Atmos says they give you an angle of about 45 degrees to make kind of a sphere. Now, if you have a wide dispersion set of speakers, you should be fine. There's not enough. The main reason why you have to worry about that angle of approach is because of a speaker's off-axis response, right? If you're running Odyssey or any kind of very good speaker configuration tool or a home room optimization, it'll realize that if those speakers are timbre matched, there's a slight difference in frequency response, and it will make the frequency corrections and the timing and phase corrections required if that speaker is not firing straight down and it's firing at 45 degrees. So that's why you have to tell the receiver where the stuff is located and do an Odyssey so the receiver can come up with a baseline to provide the renderer to do your mix. So if I go back to this drawing right here, right, and I go back to this drawing and say I'm looking at that DTS one, if I pull that couch back, all right, when you do your 8 Odyssey mixes for your Polk Legends, it'll know that couch is closer to those, so it'll tell the renderer that, and the sound will be delayed. So it arrives at the same time as if the couch was pushed forward. Does that make sense?
This is a little related also from the lobby discussion on the HiFi Summit website. Is Adam asked, has a related question. With 2 rows of seating, what do you use as the listening position for the height angles? First row, middle point of the rows, or something else? Most of the speaker placement specs only show 1 row of seating.
Okay. If I go back to that drawing, I would put that. You're gonna have, it's a compromise. Because if I only have four speakers up in the ceiling, and I would try to put that couch, both couches kind of in the middle of that, move this one.
So both of them kind of get it. Yeah, I got
kind of get it. Okay. Now people say the reason why there's 30 channels here, people go, why would anybody want 30 channels? Because more speaker positions,
easier sweet spot,
wider sweet spot. The reason why when you go to a movie theater and you see speakers everywhere is because there's 9 rows.
Right.
Like whenever we do surround sound demonstrations at trade shows, we always put we try to put 6 up there as much as possible. And when I get the option, I'm going to put 8. Why? Because if I get the more of those I put in, the more rows that I could do and get a pretty good effect. So remember, all these numbers are just a recommendation. They're just a recommendation. That's all they are. If you're not way off pointing the speaker towards the wall, and,
been there, done that.
It's going to sound good. Both systems are, these are positions, right? They're not, they're recommended locations. Because this is an object-based system, the renderer in the system will look at the positions of the speakers you have. And the renderer will say, okay, there's one here and there's one over here, and I'll play a little bit more in this one to make it sound like it's coming from over here. So if it's not perfect, you'll be okay.
Phil, you had mentioned something earlier about the wide dispersion speakers. I know I get that question asked a lot. Like, does those formats, can you still use wide dispersion for like your side surrounds and back surrounds? I know you don't want to do that for like your upper, downfiring Atmos type speakers.
Well, you got to remember that dipole was designed just to wash a wall, just wash the whole wall, because be honest with you, it was a matrix signal. It was pro logic, it was stereo, and it was just to wash the wall with something kind of back there, right? This stuff is more discrete. So you could use a wide dispersion speaker, but don't do something that's like dipole, because it's kind of hard to have a physical object or a bullet whiz over your head, or like a bell ringing right here. If it's just washed along the road, you lose the localization of it. So you want to be able to localize it. That's a good thing. But if it's a wider dispersion speaker, that's fine. It's just that when you start trying to put dipoles in you want to put 4 dipoles or 6 dipoles, you're kind of limiting
the person.
It's like muddying it up, right?
Exactly. Because if I go back to this and I look at an object-based format, right? The way that they used to do it was an engineer, and they do it a lot still. They make a bed layer. So they make a mix, and they say, okay, and they take 9 objects and say, you 9 objects are in the regular positions that would be recommended for 9 channels of horizontal surround, like the 9 and the 9.1.4. So you guys stay there. Okay, so that makes it backwards compatible to all of the material, all the way back to the first DTS systems that were introduced in the 90s. Then they have additional objects that they can assign metadata to. Now, there's hundreds of them. They're not going to use them all at the same time, because it's just going to be a cacophony of madness, right? So they may take a few things at a time, and they assign a sound, a location. Where is it located in space? How big is that object? Is it tiny, or is it really big, like a Mack truck or a bell? And how diffuse is it? Is it like the wash of an ocean, or real crisp bell? And then those are assigned to metadata, and that metadata is put into the channels. So whether it's Atmos or DTS, the premise is the same. Those purple ones along the top act as a bed layer that makes it backwards compatible. And then the mixing engineer can choose objects. He may choose 2, he may choose 10. He's not going to put 140 things whizzing around a room at the same time, and if you look at the middle indication, that is the speaker configuration in their space. You don't have to have that one. That is just the reference that he's using. So if your system is bigger than that, it does not matter. If your system is smaller than that, it does not matter. That is just what he's using to check, to verify the position of the object in his space. Okay. And then finally, the one to the left of the balls it's almost like a joystick they play with. And they say, I want to put this object over here and I want it to be this big. And then that metadata is stored in the signal. So regardless of the, if I go back here, regardless of what size speaker you have, it's going to work. The system just needs to know what speakers you have, so I can put the object in the proper position, and that's it.
Phil, I got a question for you. I know we've been talking a lot about heights and height center channels and all that kind of stuff, but can we do this dts-x with just regular 5.1?
Well, so both companies realize that a lot of companies, we want people. Believe me, we make speakers. We want you to. We want you to buy a lot of 30 speakers from us. Let's do this.
We can hook you up.
But you know what? I have 4 in my room, in my ceiling, and it took a whole lot of pleading to get those 4 put up there, right? Yeah. So sometimes it may be financial, sometimes it may not be possible, sometimes it may not. You just want the hassle of it. So so there are, both companies do have a virtual technology that can be overlaid on top. So the renderer will, after it renders the object, it will use psychoacoustics to put that object in that space. Now, it's based on science. People go, it's magic, it's trickery. Before I did this, my first job out of high school, I was a submarine sonar tech. So you ever seen The Hunt for Red October? Jonesy, con sonar? That's what I did. And there are no windows on a submarine. Everything is done by sound. And based on what it sounded like, I could tell you if it was above the sub, below the sub, behind the sub, and how far away. So if it works, so all that stuff, all that information has been stored over years, and all I got to do is give you that same kind of audio effect using digital processing, and your brain, based on, will believe that it is above you or behind you. So so a lot of these virtual mixes are pretty darn good. Are they as good as a physical speaker? No, they're not. But it's better than nothing. Yeah,
totally, which makes sense. And I know we have a few people in San Francisco that clearly can't buy a larger house out there because it's like $55 million for 2 square feet, right?
Exactly.
So it sounds like this 5.1 setup, unfortunately, it's a good way to go. Clearly, if we all had our way, we would live in the middle of Texas in a mansion and just have 45 speakers everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Exactly. And
I had to put that up
Tristan
before.
Always comes
out
with
about it.
Oh my God, Tristan, that is amazing.
You got to be on point. And Tristan's in here.
I'm the Debo, and he's the. I'm like, give me your bike, punk.
Phil's coming. Watch out!
You think I'm gonna tell
your chain?
It's my bike, punk.
What you got on my 40?
That's awesome. Oh my God.
Oh, man.
That's great.
Yeah, but like I said, the whole goal is we want to let people know that our goal at Sound United with Polk and all of our companies is to bring good audio to the masses. Right. We're not gonna, this is not. We're not saying that you buy a receiver and a nice set of Polk speakers or a nice set of definitive speakers. It is the ultimate of all things. But we're saying it's going to be great. And a lot of times it's better than what you heard in the movie theater because there's not kids chewing bubble gum and you don't get in the movie theater, you don't get the sit.
Oh, or just people talking. Yeah. People talk so much. It's like, what? They're on the phone. They're like, hey, I'm in a movie. Like, what? Shut up, dude. Get off.
That's right. Go outside.
Exactly. And then, and one of the benefits of being Polk is the fact that we're big and we can utilize a lot of science. So we can apply that stuff to not only we can take what we learned from our big speakers and apply it to the sound bars. And we can do things such as SDA based on research that we have to give you those massive things. Because people want 9 channels in their room. You want wides. Get a pair of SDAs, and your room is wide. Without you having to physically put a speaker there.
I saw somebody ask a question of S35 versus S30. Personally, it kind of comes down to how much space you have. S35 is slimline. You have 4.5 inch woofers on there with your 1-inch dome tweeter, and then the 30 is 2 5.25 inch woofers with the 1-inch tweeter on there with power port. So if you have the area to put a 14-inch tall center channel speaker, go with the 30. But I do have to say that the S35 is the best-selling center channel speaker that we have made in a very long time. Coolest thing with the S35 as well is that you can utilize it as an LCR. So if you are even more space constrained, you could wall mount it, flip it vertically, and you'll be legit ready to rock and roll.
Exactly.
We may have an update for that coming out soon. Maybe.
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 The rumor
$1
mill.
million.
Turning the rumor
And
mill.
you might have heard it here first, folks.
Hey, we got this question from Noop a little while back, so I want to make sure it gets addressed. Is IMAX Enhanced worth replacing my Marantz SR6012 plus amp for a receiver with IMAX Enhanced?
Think of it this way. It's a choice. So we look at it and we want to provide the customers with the option. So dts-x sounds great. Dolby Atmos sounds great. But sometimes it's nice to be able to see if you like the IMAX version better. You know, it isn't better. It's different. Like I said, the mix is different because it has a center height, which is not part of the Atmos mix. It has the speakers, the IMAX enhanced content is the dynamics are bigger. It's uncompressed. And when I say uncompressed, it means from quiet to loud. A lot of times they do a near field mix for regular DTS and for Atmos because the engineer takes that massive theater mix that they mix in a massive mixing studio and they go back into a small room and mix it near field. They don't do that for IMAX Enhanced. You get that big scale of the mix. And they normally, because they're worried about damaging speakers, what they'll do is they'll limit that dynamic from that very quiet to very loud. IMAX Enhanced does not do that. There's a space shuttle launch on the IMAX Enhanced demo disc that is absolutely stupid ridiculous. But because it goes from so quiet to so loud, because that's what they do in the theaters. The theaters are 10 feet, the speakers are 10 feet tall. Now, that's why if you turn on a receiver and the IMAX and the receiver switches, you will get an IMAX logo because you set your baseline for dts-x and Dolby Atmos. In Odyssey, you do all your speakers, you get your tones set up. Once you get it set up right, what it does, it takes your baseline and it applies the additional bass management, level controls, and crossovers required to give you to switch the sound to be more IMAX theater-like. Does that make sense? And that's why, oh, by the way, a lot of times there's settings in a Denon receiver or a Marantz receiver, which I can show you on later. But you won't see those unless you're playing IMAX.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're seeing a few more things come in about L800s. Guys, as soon as this whole COVID thing, quarantine passes, and you're able to go make appointments at your local retailer, go to our website, polkaudio.com, and you could go find out where the closest Legend dealer is. And you could set up time to go in and listen to these L800s. I know Mike is on here. He's talking some stuff. I know all these cats that, all these guys on here have heard the L800s. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you sit down and you listen to it, and Ron from New Record Day actually cried the first time he heard him. And I will never let him live that down.
It's great.
But it's like, it's one of the coolest damn things that has ever come into the audio industry. And since we've revamped it, it's even better than the prior version. And yeah, as Paul was saying earlier, you could use them as rears, and we did that in the Baltimore facility once. I actually thought my brain was going to melt out of my head.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do in our new theater. L800s in the front, L800s in the rear.
Dang.
L600s around the sides, and 6 subs, and I think as many surrounds as I get in the ceiling before it collapses. But
I was about to say, put a sub in the ceiling. Why not? Put a sub in the ceiling.
Now, when we talk about SDA, there's a couple points that we want to get across. People think that SDA is adding something to the signal. It actually is not. It's removing something from the signal.
So what actually wait. Is it removing something from the signal, or is it just removing something from the perceived sound?
From what you hear. So think of it this way. The engineer made sure the left and the right was completely separate. He put on the disc. You can play and you look at all your specs about your stereo separation in your receiver and how much bleed over between the channels because you want it to be the left and the right to be completely separate. But then when it comes in the room and it's blended acoustically in your room, it's okay. So all we're doing is we're making sure the left ear hears the left and the right ear hears the right. We're maintaining the stereo separation from the content creator all the way to your ears. And what we're removing is the crosstalk. We're removing that crosstalk where the right speaker goes into the left ear and the left speaker goes into the right ear. So we're removing crosstalk. We're not adding any processing.
But Phil, what's the best part of that?
All the way through. Much wider imaging and focus. More natural, it's wide. And the reason why it's wider, go ahead.
It's like the room has headphones on.
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
The entire room has headphones, and you can hear everything. On last night's after party, I played the song "Boy" from Odessa, and I was like, I waited till Friday CES to play that song specifically because there's so much panning that goes around and it sounds great on my headphones. Not so great on my whatever speakers I have in the room, but on those L800s, man, it's like the room had headphones on. I was like, holy crap! Like this
I can tell you how you can get the same effect on the speakers you already have. You put them in your room, and you build a wall from your nose
right here
all the way between the two, and you make sure that it's covered acoustically so it doesn't get any bounce off, and you'll get the same effect. All we're doing is separating the left side from the right side. It's not, and so yeah, we're removing stuff. We're not adding stuff.
The strangest thing when I went to that demo was being able to turn your head physically left and right, and the sound does not change. That blew my mind. I've never experienced that. That was weird.
Because I was a sonar tech, the way that we find stuff is based on phase and timing, right? So the front of the submarine has a big ball of microphones. And based on when the sound approaches hits the microphones, we can look at the computers, look at the timing of that, and that gives you a position, right? That's how your ears work. Frequency, it comes in at a certain, the left ear hears it before the right ear with a little bit of a different timing and phase, and your brain says over there. Because you can, the reason why you can localize a speaker when you turn your head is now your left ear and right ear hear that speaker and it can localize. When you turn your head with a pair of SDAs, your left ear still can't localize the right speaker. So that's why it stays so massive. They literally disappear in a room. These big giant speakers, but you can look physically dead at them and you can't hear unless there's a sound that's supposed to come from that speaker. It's like it's not there. It's crazy.
Hey, would that actually work? This question here, can you use L800? I don't know if that would work, right? Cannot.
No, it would not work, unfortunately. So SDA, the way that it works, crosstalk cancellation is you have the umbilical cord that attaches to the other speaker, so they're able to talk to each other, and they know what they're able to cancel out at that point in time.
Exactly.
But you can't use it as a center channel, and you probably wouldn't be able to see your screen either. You have a third tower in there.
You know what you can use is a center channel though.
L400.
That big massive beast there.
L6, I use
you guys have one of the most popular giveaways. I'll tell you right now.
It is the most popular.
Yeah, it is. Is it the number one?
Yeah.
When I checked
you guys have the most popular giveaway here. I guess everybody wants to win this.
Yeah.
So, guys, keep entering, please. This is some awesome stuff. I mean, we can't talk about this legend line any more than we have. Like it's amazing. It's even Stu Lunsden, who created these speakers, and he's been with the company for 40 years or so. He actually said that these legend speakers were some of the best speakers that Polk has ever made, ever. And that was his swan song.
Yeah.
As soon as these things launched, he was at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest talking to everybody. Then he actually retired shortly after that because you got to go out on a high note, right?
He's like, I'm done. I've mission
it was like his mic drop.
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
Bye.
Out of here.
Right.
You guys are gonna miss me.
That's right.
Exactly.
Hey, somebody was asking about subwoofers. Do we have a massive sub that plays really low? One thing that I think that we always should recommend to people, and we always say this, is multiple subs are always better than one big one. And that's a setup trick. The first thing, remember we talked about this, you want more surrounds and the more surrounds that you have around you, going from 7.1 to 5.1 to 9.1 means you get a wider sweet spot horizontally, and having more speakers above you gives you a wider sweet spot vertically. Well, adding more subwoofers gives you a wider sweet spot for even bass performance. Because you put them in different positions. Don't make them what's it called? Symmetrical. People like to put them, exactly in the same position on both sides. Basically, they both have the same problem now. So you want to move one 3 inches, 6 inches, 10 inches.
And you may be right.
The coat kind of hides it.
Yeah, exactly.
Paul had to jump in, huh?
When I first saw Bronson, I'm like, that looks like a Bronson.
That's awesome.
He doesn't look like an Abner or
Abner. Out of all the names,
what is this? 1854?
He's
I
like
picked
Amish
Abner
and
because
stuff.
hopefully I'm not offending anybody on the. What do you mean? Some muscular guy named Abner. What are you talking about?
Oh man. Oh, dude, I got to get those Stockton shorts on.
Hey, man, that's your new nickname, John
So
Stockton.
All right, send me a jersey. I'll wear it.
That's awesome.
More subs. Like Bronson was talking about how we blew the circuit in the building.
Oh yeah, last story. Oh
yeah,
my
we
God.
had 800s in the front, 600s all the way around. What, 4 Polk subs?
We had a 744 setup.
7.
No, 544.
No, we had a 746.
Oh, that's
Running
right.
off
You had
no
six,
wonder.
yeah, you had 6
No
high
wonder,
channel.
off
dude.
of 4 Marantz.
Are you talking about the Venetian this year? Yeah,
Yeah.
you had six high channel.
it was ridiculous.
It was
Lights
one of
went
the
out.
coolest things
So,
ever.
so the first day after the show, we're all excited. First day of the show worked really well. So we start watching stuff that we normally cannot play for people. You know, John Wick, Apocalypse Now, boom, boom, boom. We're just having a good old time. And someone says, hey, play some music. So we start playing music in 2-channel. That sounds really good. And then our head guy, Will Hammond, he's our VP of marketing. He wanted to hear Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name of, Killing in the, and we're like, we start playing it, and then someone says, what would it sound like in Dolby surround all the channels? And we hit that button, and the whole building said pop. All the lights went out. We were like, uh-oh.
Everything went out. We were all so quiet. Everything went dark. Everything was silent. We all looked at each other. We're like, oh my God, we just broke the Venetian. And then all of a sudden, we all start cheering. It was like the coolest thing ever. We knew we could break Vegas. We are here.
So we went in and found another one of the little boards and put it
And
together.
we Matthews 2 days later.
And said, okay, now we know don't do that anymore. So it was pretty fun.
What is that? Looks like we got the last question for you, Phil.
What is my favorite codec?
I guess audio format.
Probably like surround and is it
Surround
dts-x?
format, yeah.
Is it?
Okay, right now, it's a hard one. I think that the guys, it all depends on the mixer. It all depends on the artist. Right now, currently, I think the Atmos guys are doing more aggressive mixes when it comes to utilizing their stuff. It's not the fact that the format is better. I just think that the current guys that are doing them, like Ready Player One, is a ridiculous Atmos demo. And then also, if you look at the music mixes, like I like the Hans Zimmer live at Prague, the Roger Waters, the Wall, and the other one that is just stunning is Kraftwerk 3D. If you want to
see the coolest damn thing ever.
Do an Atmos mix that is just completely nuts. Those are demos of people really pushing the envelope when it comes to objects and things like that. Now, the DTS stuff is supposed to be getting more aggressive. I heard some movies are coming out in DTS. They told me not to say which ones. And they said a guy that did that went to 11 on the mix. So
he went full tilt.
Huh?
So he went full tilt.
He went full tilt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. When it comes to music, which is your favorite? I mean, I would love everything to be in multi-channel DSD. It ain't gonna happen, But I like the fact that streaming services are now doing FLAC, because FLAC is good, and you can get streaming content now from Amazon at like $192.24, which you can't even buy it better, So I really like that, and the fact that FLAC is uncompressed. There are some high-res file formats that are still utilizing compression that was developed when you needed compression, but now your internet speeds are so fast these days that I can do 192.24 in 10 zones on my heels at the same time. So that bandwidth requirement is going down. So
I think we need about 6 hours with Phil and Bronson.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Phil, you're back on Monday,
I'm gonna have to bounce out here and get ready for the next seminar. But you guys are always welcome on our
show.
We'll definitely do it again.
Guys,
it's always
awesome
fun hanging out with
you.
you guys. And I know I'm a gibberer and jabberer. I talk a lot. I can't.
You got good stuff to
You got a
say.
lot to say though. But
yeah, guys, Sound United Training Channel. We have it on YouTube. Go subscribe. Phil is on there all the time. He's dropping knowledge every day. And I think my brain explodes at least once a week every time we talk.
Yeah. So I do want to give this shout out.
You'll learn.
I do want to give this out. We do weekly seminars on a variety of different things. I did, I can't tell you how many on HDMI 2.1, immersive audio formats. We had the VP of engineering for DTS on last week. to answer questions. He's the head of engineering. We do things on Class A and wireless distribution of high-res audio. Please check it out.
I just dropped a link in the chat.
Yeah.
And we'll actually be on Monday talking 2.1 as well, and how it is great for audio purposes as well.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it's fun to talk to people who are passionate about this, because like I said, I can rap about this all day.
Oh yeah.
You know, my wife's like, get out of my living room. I want to watch a movie.
Yeah. Or the kids want to play some video games, right?
That's right.
Yes, exactly.
So
I actually bought my son a PlayStation for his room right now. If not, he'd be
so now he's out of the equation. It's just the
he wants to play
right?
with that one. So
Awesome,
Phil and Bronson, thank you guys so much. It's great seeing you guys again.
Absolutely.
Great talking. And for all of you still hanging out for the next session, HiFi Summit Day 2 continues with Macintosh Labs. They are going to be talking about their approach to digital sound. So we'll see you guys in just a few minutes. All right.
Hey guys,
Thanks, guys. Tristan, good luck holding your breath.